So, how you doing, guys? We're here to talk a little trash.
Yeah,
And
I'm
some
always
of our
up for
favorite
that.
trash people here. We
Yes.
have Paul and Pat, and they've agreed to be a guinea pig here for us, talking a little bit about how they handle their trash situation here.
Sure.
And of course, my name is Greg, and I am one of the co-owners of a composting biz called North Country Compost. And we have a drop-off site in the village of Canton, and Pat and Paul are some of the first people to be using the site.
Right.
And so we thought we might be coming out to their house today a bit and have them tell us how it works.
Sure.
Yes.
Sure.
So fire away. What's
Well,
up, guys?
I'd like to give a little background first and say that Paul and I have been composting for many, many years. I want to say, 15, 20 years?
Or more. Yeah.
Or more, and because we've always believed in the concept, but what we particularly like about this program, this new program, is that it will you can compost meat scraps, because we never knew what to do with that, and it's very convenient being located in the village, because everybody needs to go into the village for one reason or another, to the grocery store or to the bank. So it's easy to incorporate it into your errands, and you can take care of all of your food scraps.
Yeah.
Great. So you used the food scrap collection here, do your own composting? Yes.
Yeah.
Previously?
Yes, we
Yeah,
did for many years.
We tried it on site. Our composter barrel was off the end of the house, probably within just 20 feet. And then after talking with someone or going to a seminar, I think that Paul Hetzler did, he said if you want to keep the rodents and things away from your house, if you have a compost, that should be far away from your house. So we tried that, but then we just weren't really keeping an active compost bin. It was basically a place just that we dumped our compost in, really didn't add any additives or the proper things that you would put into a composter to keep it alive and healthy. And so it just kind of, went on that way. And then this came along, and they were going to actively compost things and do it properly. And I thought that was the best of both worlds there. We get it off the property, we kind of reduce the rodent situation, keep the scraps away from them, and like Pat said, the meat scraps part was really a tipping point too, to be able to go someplace and have meat scraps be acceptable along with our food waste and things like that.
And I think another thing, to Paul's point, is that with just two of us here, we didn't generate tons of scraps to warrant the big compost container we had and putting additives in. So now, when we're going into town, when our little bucket is full, we take care of it, and it goes in with everyone else's food scraps, and we know it's going to be taken care of properly.
Yeah, I myself started composting in our backyard in Brooklyn back in the 87, 8, like that. And the problem is, we didn't generate enough of a pile, and the trick about compost is you need a cubic yard to get enough heat, because the microorganisms that break down the food scraps, it's like a party down there. There's billions of them. And the harder they work, the hotter they get. But you only have a few million, not a few billion, then you're not going to have enough to create the heat. And it's the heat that kills the pathological microbes and the weed seeds, which you don't want in your field. So there's advantages to doing stuff together. You got scale, you got capacity, and we do all the sweat equity. We turn the piles. You got to get air in there. And, so it's one of those things where, some things are better to do on your own. Let's face it, flossing your teeth is hard to do as a family. But food composting is something that is better as a group event, unless you have a house of 50 starving children, which is not typical anymore.
Right.
So why don't you show us, Pat, exactly what happened? What you have a sample tea bag over there?
Well, I'm excited that so many things are compostable because I drink a fair amount of tea, but this time of the year I start making iced tea. And, you know, if you just cut the top off, get rid of your, you know, staples where the tag was and the string, just put this whole little bag in the compost bucket. So the whole thing is compostable. Greg, why don't you give us the guideline? You said if it one screw.
I mean, everybody's always like, can I compost this? Can I compost that? And the simple answer is to think about where this thing came from, whether it's a carrot or a tea bag. Is it something that ever lived?
Yes.
And that would be the answer to your question.
Mm-hmm.
That would obviously preclude plastic bags and
Right.
you know, forks and knives.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that's derived from a fossil fuel, that's not going to work. But
Right.
if it's even paper, obviously came from trees, which you were once living. So that's all good. We're very few things we don't compost because we have the scale and the location to handle it.
Yeah, so
About everything.
I used to throw these in the trash, and now I just put them in my little compost bucket.
Okay, what about, see a carrot there? I see
Yeah.
some strawberries.
Yeah.
Those are all things that, you know, when you eat your strawberry, you probably don't eat the green tops. I
No,
bet.
no, I don't enjoy those very much.
Those are a little gnarly, get stuck in your teeth, you know, and like that. So yeah, so anything that like the top, there probably was a top in that carrot, I'll bet, at one point.
Mm-hmm.
So you probably don't eat those unless you're one
No,
of those hardcore.
we received the carrots. The carrots have already been topped when we get them. But I had a question for you. What if you have a wet newspaper that you can't put in with your paper recycling? Is that acceptable in the food scrap drop-off place?
Yeah, it's going to be wet soon enough. So you know, water, as long as it's not got motor oil in it.
Right.
Dog feces, by the way, are not cool. You know, I know you folks have a dog. You probably don't compost the dog poop.
No, we don't.
No, that's a good choice.
That goes off into the woods.
Yes.
Somewhere.
Yeah,
But
eventually.
the print that is on the newspaper, that's not harmful in the compost?
Not in the amounts. I mean, a lot of people are now going to soy inks, I know, because they didn't want to get away from the fossil fuels. But in the incremental, incredibly small amounts the ink occurs, it's not going to be a real problem. So once you have all this stuff, where do you put it? Is there a place in the house where you put it?
Yeah, we've got this little metal bucket here.
Yeah, why don't you pick that up and show
We
us?
keep this right out in the garage, just down, up just through this door. And it's got a nice top on it. I think this one is, well, I know it's metal, so
Stainless
steel, so you can, brush it out, rinse it out with some rainwater or whatnot, or a hose. And if you get really obsessive about it, you could put it in the dishwasher by itself, but that's a story for another day. But it comes with its own lid, and just put the food scraps right in there. And when it gets up to the top, or if it gets to a point where, well, there's things in there that are starting to smell, it gets in the middle of the summertime, you don't want to keep, food scrap or meat scraps in there any longer than you need to. So off it goes the next trip out the door, whether it's full or not.
So in your case, how often would you say you go to the village drop-off site?
Probably once every 2 weeks, unless we're doing a lot of processing of foods and stuff like that.
Great. All right. Well, I thank you, Paul and Pat, for your time
Sure.
and sharing your experience. And hopefully we can spread the word. And pretty soon, all 7,000 households will be composting, huh? Yeah. It's 24/7. You can drop it off, and very convenient in the village anytime you make a trip in. So thanks for your time, guys, and
Absolutely.
we'll be talking to you more later.
Okay, great.
Our pleasure.